There are moments in life when a single piece of paper can change everything. Moments when an unexpected message reaches us in the quiet of our despair and reminds us that heaven has not forgotten our name. Tonight's story follows a man who stood at the edge of a terrible decision. A man whose heart had been worn thin by disappointment and fear. A man who believed he had no strength left to keep moving forward. But a mysterious prayer written in his own handwriting, a prayer he had no memory of writing, found its way into his hands at the very moment he needed it most. What happened next would become the turning point that saved his life and opened his eyes to a truth he had pushed aside for years, that God sees every tear, every fear, every silent moment of collapse, and He sends help in ways we cannot predict. Welcome, dear friend. This is Faith Light Stories, where every story reminds us that God never leaves us. Please like, share, and subscribe. He had always been a quiet man, the kind of person who carried his burdens without complaint, working long hours at a warehouse that never seemed to stay warm enough in winter or cool enough in summer, and going home to an empty apartment that echoed with unfinished thoughts and memories he wished he could bury. His name was Samuel, and for years he had been trying to rebuild his life after losing both his marriage and his savings during a collapse he never saw coming. But some wounds take shape in ways the eyes cannot see, and even when the world moves on, the heart sometimes stays behind. That night he sat at the small kitchen table, staring at a pile of overdue bills, scattered like fallen leaves across the wood, and the numbers seemed to claw at his mind, whispering that there was no way out, no door left open for a man who had already lost so much. His hands shook as he rubbed his forehead, and the silence of the apartment pressed in around him like a heavy blanket, trapping him inside a storm he could no longer navigate. He whispered a question into the empty room, asking why life had become so unbearable, asking why every step forward felt like sinking deeper into mud, asking why he even existed if everything he touched seemed to crumble. No answer came, only the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a train cutting through the night outside his window. And for the first time, Samuel wondered if he should simply let the weight take him under. He stood slowly, walked to the drawer beside the sink, and opened it with a trembling hand, reaching toward something he knew he should not touch. But the despair in his chest felt bigger than his will to resist. His fingers brushed against the cold metal, and a chill crept up his arms. But just then a small folded paper slipped out from beneath a stack of coupons and fell to the floor as if pushed by an unseen hand. Confused, he knelt to pick it up, feeling the rough edges between his fingertips and noticing that the paper looked worn, as though it had been handled many times, even though he had no memory of ever seeing it before. He opened it and froze, because written across the center in handwriting unmistakably his own were the words he needed more than breath itself, words he knew he had never written yet recognized all the same. It said, "Lord, I am still yours, even when I cannot see the road, even when my heart fails, even when I lose myself, hold me so I do not fall." His breath caught in his throat, and a strange stillness filled the room, as if heaven had pressed its ear to his chest and whispered, "I am here." He sat down hard on the floor, staring at the note, unable to understand how those words had come to exist in his handwriting, because he had not prayed in years, not since the night everything collapsed, not since the night he told God he was done. His vision blurred as tears filled his eyes, and he pressed the paper against his chest, feeling a warmth blooming inside him, like someone had lit a candle where darkness had lived too long. He thought about the moment he had reached for the drawer, and suddenly he felt shaken by the realization that if the note had not fallen at that exact second, he might have made a choice he could never undo. He leaned back against the cabinet, letting the words soak into him, and for the first time in months, he felt his lungs fill all the way with breath, a deep, steady breath that felt like returning to life. He whispered the prayer out loud, letting the words roll through him, and with each repetition, something loosened inside his spirit, as though chains he had carried for years were finally beginning to crack. He remained on the floor for a long time until the night grew quieter and softer around him. And when he finally stood, he felt unsteady, but no longer broken. He walked to the table, gathered the bills, and neatly stacked them, not because they had gone away, but because he no longer felt powerless against them. Something in the prayer had awakened a memory of faint image of himself seated at the same table months earlier scribbling. Something in exhaustion before falling asleep with his head on his arms, and he wondered if maybe God had guided his hand that night. Even though he had not been listening, he held the note again, smoothing the creases with his thumb, whispering thank you with a sincerity that surprised him. And as he did, he felt the weight in his chest melt like ice touched by sunlight. He knew the problems were still there. He knew the road ahead would still be steep, but something had shifted deep. Within him, something solid and steady and real. He climbed into bed holding the paper in his hands, and for the first time in years, he prayed not with rehearsed words, not with fear, not with guilt, but with a fragile hope that maybe he was still worth saving. When morning came, the light slipped through the blinds and touched his face gently, and he woke with a sense of quiet strength he had not felt since he was a boy. He placed the note in his wallet, knowing he would carry it everywhere he went, not as a superstition, but as a reminder of the night God reached into his life and redirected him with a message written by his own unaware hand. And as he walked down the street toward another long shift at the warehouse, he felt something he had forgotten how to feel. He felt accompanied. He felt guided. He felt like someone was walking beside him. He looked up at the sky, which was turning pale gold with sunrise, and whispered 3 words he had avoided for far too long: I trust you. And with those words, the heaviness lifted, not entirely, but enough to make room for hope, and he stepped forward into the day, carrying the note that had saved his life and the knowledge that he had never been alone, even in the darkest hour, even when he tried to walk away from the one who had never walked away from him. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who might be struggling in silence. And if you believe God still speaks in unexpected ways, comment, I believe. Thank you for watching Faith Light Stories. Please like, share, and subscribe.